we're always experiencing the truth. So how hard can it be to experience what you're always experiencing? You're never not experiencing it. But the reason that it's not being recognized by most people most of the time is because their attention is elsewhere. You know, if your attention has been, if you've been trained to pay attention to the world, if you've been trained to pay attention in a particular way that involves certain beliefs, core beliefs, like you are the physical body, core beliefs like you are the personality that you were given, you are the name you were given, you are the personality that you believe makes you different from other human beings. So it's not easy to get out of that. It's not easy to stop operating from that position or stop seeing from that viewpoint. It's not easy only because of our habit of thinking and paying attention in a particular way. Our thinking is what the narrative is, the voiceover is, that's constantly telling us what's happening, constantly interpreting what's happening, constantly telling us that we're the physical body, constantly telling us that we're the personality. And so we're living in the world of that. We wake up into that every day, and then we participate in a world where almost everybody is operating with the same belief. And it's almost like we're playing a game together in which all of us operate as a separate self with a unique body, with a unique experience of your conditioning from your personal history. And then the game is, given the unique body you have and the unique brain you have and the unique personality that you have and the unique understandings that you have, we play the game of life, and the game of life is the pursuit of happiness. The game of life is attempting to experience well-being, you know, to be attempting to experience our ability to enjoy the fact that we exist, to experience joy about the fact that we exist, to experience life as an exciting adventure rather than a challenging, disturbing event, challenging, upsetting, disturbing event full of suffering, without much hope. And you know, the evidence for this is evident. All you have to do is put on the news, you know, and you can see that you're not the only one suffering. Suffering is very common. Everybody's suffering all over the world. So in the headless way, what the teaching is to simply point to the place that you believe your head is, right? To point to the place that you believe your head is. Because if you're experiencing your true nature at all times, it means you're experiencing it now, and the experience of it is immediately available. It's not hidden, right? So right here for you, right? If you pay attention to the right here for you, right? There's nothing here, right? Now I know you believe your head is there, right? And I know if you look in the mirror, you say, that's proof that my head is there. But you're not experiencing your head to be there, ever. You will never experience your head to be there, because what you're experiencing is the awareness itself. So right here, for all of you, if you give it a look, if you pay attention to it, is an empty reality right here. And one of the things they do in the headless way is they say, if you put your hands up and you start bringing your hands closer and closer to this space here where you believe there's a head, but if you look, you can see there is no head there, there's emptiness here. And if you bring your hands toward it, your hands start getting bigger and bigger, because this depends on the actual reality of what you're seeing. It's not depending on what you learned or what you believe, it's depending on what you're actually seeing. And so if you bring your hands closer to your head here, your hands get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. and then right here, they disappear. Where'd they go? See, and I'm not talking about what you believe, you believe they went. I'm talking about what is literally being experienced. And what is literally being experienced is they disappeared. Where'd they go? They went into the void. They went into the empty space that you're looking out of, right? They went into the void. They went into the emptiness. And when you bring them back this way, they become form again. They take a form of being your hands. Emptiness, form. And the Heart Sutra tells us emptiness is form and form is emptiness. The emptiness is the potential for this form. Every time I bring my hands forward, my hands get created. Every time I bring my hands back, my hands go back into emptiness. So the emptiness is there. It's got the potential for form. And when I bring my hands forward, the hands reappear again. And this is the basis of human experience, right? And that's how simple this is. You're experiencing the awareness that you are right now here in this empty space that you believe your head exists.
That's it.
That's all. That's the truth. And that's why they teach in the headless way that if you practice headlessness, you practice experiencing the truth of yourself, which is the experience you're having right here of there being an empty space there that you're looking out from, right? You're literally experiencing that. That's not a belief. It's actually happening, right? And then the other thing they talk about in the headless way is the third eye, or the single eye. If you put your hands up like this in front of you, right, to create two like glasses, and you see there's two holes there, just like you got two eyes in the head. And if you start bringing that closer and closer to your eyes until it's right up against your eyes, the two turns into one, doesn't it? Yeah. That's the third eye.
That's there all the time.
And that's there all the time. You're looking through that eye. There's a single eye. You're seeing it with the single eye, right? So these things are the truth. They're literal and actual, and they're being experienced all the time, right? But we typically fall back into the belief and the thinking activity that tells us that there's a head here, when you never experienced that to be true. The evidence suggests that there is no head here, there's an awareness here. So this is some of the direct pointing that occurs with this teaching called the Headless Way. And I highly recommend it. I think that as a practitioner of meditation, what we're up to here is to experience the truth, to experience our true nature. The Headless Way gives us a direct, exact way of noticing that. And to experience the nature of this empty space that's here, right? The nature of this empty space that's here is that it is not doing anything. It is being. It is not doing anything. It is not resisting anything. It is not thinking about anything. It's not going anywhere. It's unborn, right? It's just there. It just is. Muji calls it isness. So I highly recommend that you check that out. I did a video recording of the talk that Richard did on Friday night and some of the experiments that he showed people. And I'm going to put an edited version of that up on my YouTube channel. So you'll have an opportunity to hear Richard speak about this directly and to see some of the experiments that he gives people to do that will allow them to experience the actual truth of what they are. So, you see how thinking comes in and wants to put a but onto the experience? Wants to say, yes, but, right? That's how thinking relates to the truth. Thinking relates to the truth with yes, buts, or examples of how the truth can't be the truth. But you can do all that you want. You can play those mind games all you want. It's not going to change the direct experience that I'm referring to. It is what it is. And when you point here, right, and you're asked to look at what you're pointing to. Obviously, you're not being asked to look at the finger, you're being asked to look at what the finger's pointing to. And if you look at what the finger's pointing to, and you really do look, right, what the finger's pointing to is nothing. Space, emptiness. Well, you see, the thing about it is it's not going to change what happens in the form. It's not going to change what happens in the physical world. It's going to change the way it's occurring to you. That's why my teacher was crying tears of joy when he was in the emergency room dying of renal failure. Right? His body was dying. He was experiencing joy because he wasn't dying. So which one do you want? Which way do you want it to go? All right? When your body's in the death process, do you want to be the body or not? So it's that simple. You know, you are not this body, and therefore the day may come, if you're awake enough, that you can look at it and see that, you know, have the actual experience that you're looking at a physical, material thing that is not what I am. The purpose of this meditation that I teach is for you to wake up, for you to realize the truth of who you are, what you are, so you can have the benefit of experiencing your life from there. And to experience your life from there is exciting, fulfilling, it's joyful, right? It's peaceful, it's happy, it's satisfied. And isn't it interesting, those are the experiences that all human beings want. But none of those experiences are available when you're in the form of a personality and a separate self. Why? Because you're in the form of something that doesn't actually exist. How can something that doesn't actually exist experience happiness? It's just not possible. And that's why the pursuit of happiness is the primary function of most of humanity, is to pursue happiness. Why? Because they don't have it. And they don't have it because they can't have it. It's not possible to have it because you're being an imaginary person. You're being a hungry ghost in Buddhism. In Buddhism, they call most human beings hungry ghosts because they don't exist. They're a ghost. They think there's something that doesn't actually exist. That makes them a ghost. And they're a hungry ghost because they're never satisfied. They can't be satisfied because what they want more than anything else is simply not available in the condition that they're in. So they're a hungry ghost. And most people live and die that way. You know? Actually, they don't live and die that way. They just, they're the walking dead and then the body drops. Because you can't be alive if you're busy being something that's not alive. That won't work, right? And so your life is about seeking pleasure, seeking peace, seeking happiness, seeking satisfaction. You know, you wake up in the morning and you go to work. Why are you going to work? You're going to work to make money, and so you can get things, because the human kingdom is a kingdom in which people believe that happiness is a function of getting what you want. So everybody's in the rat race, you know, working hard to get what you want, in the hope that that will bring happiness. It keeps not working, but they keep trying, right? So it's hopeless. It's a hopeless endeavor.
They don't know any better.
Yeah, that's true.
Until you get out of that.
That's true. That's why in the Advaita Vedanta teachings, they say the source of suffering is ignorance. They don't know any better. Forgive them, for they know not what they do. Forgive them, for they don't know what they are. Forgive them, for they're behaving the way they're behaving because of their ignorance, and they believe they're a separate self, and that makes everything a threat. If you're a separate self, then everything that's not you is a threat. And that's an overwhelming situation. That's got to produce anxiety, you know, because there's little me and then there's everything else, you know, and everything else has the potential to kill me. The world is a dangerous place, right? And you know, the most dangerous aspect of this dangerous world are other people. You know, we're all scared to death of each other, you know? So it's crazy. It's a crazy situation. And it's a crazy experience to be in. And that's why psychiatric medications are so popular, right? To try and tranquilize this sucker, you know? You try and change the brain so it doesn't function effectively, so the person doesn't have to experience being afraid all the time, or being upset or angry or annoyed or impatient or disturbed or frustrated. So in meditation, what we're doing as a primary practice is practicing relaxing the nervous system, right? Because we start out in a situation where we're experiencing being nervous and under threat and under pressure and under the weight of our emotional experience and under the weight of the way the world is appearing to us all the time. So in meditation, the first thing we need to do is try and relax the nervous system. Sit still, be silent, let the mind start to calm, right? And if you get calm enough, right, and relaxed enough, it becomes a lot more possible to experience what's happening really in terms of this empty space that you think your head is taking up, but it's not. I mean, look and see what's here. Look and see what's here. See if you can notice the emptiness that's here. See if you can notice the third eye, you know, the one eye, the single eye. And then see if you can notice the fact that the awareness that you are never moves. It never moves, right? And when you're riding your bike or you're walking, you're driving in your car, if you look at the car, you see the car is not moving. But then if you look out of the window, you see that the world's moving. This is the actual view, because awareness never moves. So if you're sitting in your car, you've learned, like you've learned a lot of things, that the car is moving, right? You learn that the car is moving and the world is staying still. But if you actually look, just like if you look here and you see there's nothing here, right? If you do that same kind of seeing when you're in your car, you see the car is still, and you look out the window, the world's moving. That's what's happening. That's literally what the evidence says is the truth. That's what's happening. When you're walking, if you look down, you can see the ground moving. You think you're moving, right? Have you ever been in a car that's parked, and the car next to you starts to move, and it's like,
What the hell?
it's like for a moment you see the truth, right? And then you go back into the dream again, right? But that's the way it is. That's actually what's happening, and that's why these practices can be so exciting, because if you can get familiar with and get used to the idea that what you are never changes and never moves, and you start seeing from that view, life becomes very interesting. And then if you add to that the experience that the only reality is the eternal moment, right? And if you add to that the truth is that the way things happen, right, is they're happening in a predetermined way, you can actually start seeing that if you're looking. If you practice looking at it, you can start seeing things are happening, just like my hands. If I do this, my hands appear, disappear, appear, disappear, right? Right? So what's really happening is predetermined, because the laws that govern what manifests, the laws that govern what determines what appears, are the laws of cause and effect. You can see this if you watch. You know, what happens now determines what happens after that. What happens after that becomes the new cause, and what determines what happens after that. You can actually watch it happening. And when you watch it happening, all the things that happen that are supposed to be so unexplainable, right, are all explainable all of a sudden, just like that. They're all explainable, right? Because all that you see when you see things as they are is things are manifesting out of the unmanifest, just like this. My hands appear out of the unmanifest. They don't exist here, they exist here, right? That's the truth. Things appear out of the unmanifest. If you start paying attention to what's happening that way, you'll be seeing things appearing out of the unmanifest, and then you'll hear people trying to describe it in terms of what they think about it, right? To try and understand it, right? But you can never understand it, because it's appearing out of the unmanifest, and it's appearing according to the laws that govern how things show up. Said another way, thy will be done. Same thing. People think that's a religious statement. It's a scientific statement. Thy will be done is a scientific statement, because the will of God is cause and effect. That's all. Cause and effect. There's nobody sitting in a throne up there making decisions about what's going to happen. That's child stuff. That's childish, right? But most human beings are childish. Most human beings are functioning at the level of a child, emotionally and intellectually. Yeah. So you can tell them all kinds of stories. Look at the world we're living in. You can tell them all kinds of crazy shit and they believe it, right? Even though it's absurd, right? Look at some of the things that are going on in the world right now. People, so-called leaders, are talking stupid, crazy shit, and people are believing it wholeheartedly. Willing to believe it wholeheartedly, willing to go to war over it, right? How insane do you want it to get, right? So this is about going sane. This is about realizing that just because the rest of the monkeys are swinging in the trees, you don't have to join them. Just because the flock is flying in the wrong direction, you don't have to fly with it, right? Just because the herd's running off a cliff, you don't have to run with it. You can wake up and experience the truth and experience freedom from that mess. Experience liberation from that mess. Experience life as an enjoyable experience. Experience yourself as not separate from the world. When you wake up, you see that emptiness is form and form is emptiness, meaning that you are everything. Obviously, and nothing, because everything comes from nothing. It's the same thing. So those are the teachings. The practice of meditation and the practice of the headless way are ways to come out of the thought process and into the actual experience of the truth. And if you do that, if you do these practices consistently, you start to experience being happy. Why? Because you have no reason not to be happy, right? You're not chasing happiness. Happiness is an experience that's a natural experience when you're experiencing the truth of what you are. No matter what else is happening in the world, happiness is yours. It can't be taken. That's the thing about this process, is that the people who are awake can point to that possibility for other human beings, but they can't wake you up. You have to wake yourself up. That's the way that's the setup here. If you wake up, it's because it was your intention to wake up and you were practicing what you needed to practice to be awake. Nobody can do that for you. But once you start to experience being awake, right, then you get it. Then you get what this is all about. And when you get what this is all about, you don't need anybody to motivate you anymore. If you're hungry and you know there's food, right, nobody has to tell you what to do. If you're suffering and you know there's peace, nobody has to tell you what to do.